Alright, so here we are in the 2019 Mazda 6. This is the Grand Touring. This is the first trim level that comes with the turbocharged engine. That I consider to be a necessity.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I definitely want to have more power, and this definitely does a very torque-rich and powerful powertrain. So I have driven this car before, but of course, that's usually pretty short impressions, so we have a little bit more of a in-depth drive here, and as usual, as we've done with the past ones, we're not really going to be discussing it in the typical way for you, but so much as just giving you a fly-on-the-wall perspective, talking amongst ourselves as we test it out and get more extensive impressions of the vehicle. One thing I've always noticed about this car is just kind of how you feel at home in it. It has really good ergonomics. The seat is very comfortable. Definitely, it feels really good. I was concerned a little bit about it doesn't have lumbar support on Grand Touring. You have to go up to Grand Touring Reserve, which seems like an odd, of all the nice things in here, seems like an odd thing to eliminate, but not too concerned about it now that I'm sitting in the seat here.
I think the seats are super comfortable.
It's really comfortable. It feels like the way that I would set it anyways, so I don't like really pumped up lumbar, particularly myself, so I'm comfortable.
Also, the leatherette on this particular model, he actually had to inform me. I thought it was real leather, for sure. So, yeah, I like the fact that this stuff, it feels really, really premium.
On the scale of leatherette, let's see, this would be like, this is kind of like Lexus New Lux, which I consider to be the best impersonation in the business. So, I certainly would not be concerned about this being leatherette versus the real leather on the higher end models. But let's see, we'll discuss with you all briefly while we're just kind of getting out on the road what it is that interests me about it. Now, as you can probably guess, your big things are going to be driving dynamics. Not many things in this class have stuff like that. Also, the turbocharged engine. Now, there are competitors that have the turbocharged engine, but this is one of the cheapest ways you can get into a turbo engine, because they put it down on the Grand Touring versus, I mean, even some of their other products like the CX-5, you have to get the Grand Touring Reserve for that. So I definitely appreciate that they bring that down to the price point of approximately $30,000. So that's definitely a good price point. The other things would be the luxury. This car is really upscale for the price point, for sure. I mean, it feels very premium. It has a great upscale vibe, and you have lots of features. You still have moonroof, 8-inch display, dual zone climate. Got all these control knobs too. Like, the little things are right in this car. Like, the stuff feels like an Audi.
The door handle,
the
super
knobs,
nice.
Down here, the controller.
I mean, everybody likes the Mazda 6, and it's for good reason. This car is really just a good one for its class, for sure. You know, we looked at the Maxima and the Stinger, and those are kind of competing in a different segment, and this is one of the only mid-size sedans that can kind of compete with that segment above, because it's so, I don't know, it just has like a more upscale feel than a lot of the other mid-size sedans do. But I am curious to see how this engine kind of competes with a lot of the other engines. The Stinger had the 2-liter turbo, the Maxima had the V6. So this is kind of a different cup of tea, so we'll hear and see what it's like, see if you like it.
Compared to the front wheels, this is front wheel drive. Stinger was rear-wheel drive that I drove. The Maxima, it didn't really have much trouble putting the power down, which was one of its strongest characteristics in my opinion. So we'll see. This has a lot of torque. It may actually have more torque. I have to check. I think that this has more torque. That was 270, something like that.
67. Check. I think it's 267.
267. You remember numbers better than I do, so it probably was. But this is 310, which is really torquey. So we'll definitely check into torque steer. That's going to be a concern with that much torque to just the front wheels. But cruising, really quiet, really comfortable too. Mazda does ride handling balance the right way. I found that in all their cars, and I'm having a little bit more extensive cruising patch here, and in the previous times I've driven this car, definitely found that you can have that good handling, and it corners flatly still, but then when you're riding around town and hit bumps and stuff,
oh yeah,
comfortable.
Does this car have auto start stop?
No.
No.
Nope. You know, this car traces back quite a ways. It's pretty old. It really is a testament, I guess, that it does not feel outdated, to me at least. And you know, there are some things, you know, auto start stop, like you just said, that's one thing, I guess, this high-tech new thing that I don't care. I just don't care if it's there or not. I've never had a car that has it, so I can't speak for certain, but I imagine I would turn it off. Also, this has all the safety systems too, versus some of this Kia Stinger at the price point that I could afford would not come with advanced safety systems.
Adaptive cruise?
No. Would not come with any of that stuff on the Stinger. So this has the full suite, so this is the safest car among the three that I've given an extensive drive so far. This definitely has the highest degree of safety equipment.
I do find it a little interesting how this car does not have the digital gauges. I don't know if that would bother me or not. I don't know, it just doesn't look quite as premium as...
I kind of like the design though. But no, I mean, it's a little weird. Because at this point, the Mazda 3 has it across all the trims. But in this car, you have to go up to the Signature, which is high dollar.
Too expensive.
Too expensive for me, that's for sure. That's for
but
sure.
the cool thing about this car is that it literally doesn't lose almost anything from the high, like the super expensive ones. Like once you go from touring, the one from base, it looks the same on the outside. I don't care what they say. The Signature looks exactly like this one. They all look the same. And in the inside, especially in like this Grand Touring, I'm really not noticing anything that's different. I mean, there's leather everywhere. Everything feels really super premium. So that's a pretty neat thing to have, actually. You know, have a car that people probably think that you got the Signature trim and you really didn't.
Oh, that's one of the I love. I haven't talked about it. But I love the outside. This car looks really good. It gets attention from a lot of people. And like I said, this is older. This is an older car, but Mazda's aged really gracefully.
Yeah, it's classy.
It is. It is a classy car. It looks expensive. People would think this is a luxury car. You know, that's exactly the type of thing that I'm looking for personally. Something that looks more stylish and more expensive than it is. Because I'm not going to get a luxury car because I don't have a budget. But you still want to be, you you know, as spoiled as much as you can be, I guess.
Yeah.
I love the steering, so let's just see if try and find a curve. I don't know where exactly we're at, but
it's pretty.
We're out in some farm land or something here, so let's see what we can come up with.
Sometimes we get a little distracted with nice houses.
That's right. Different things. I don't know where we're at, but saw something interesting. While it was up there, might as well go ahead and work that complaint in. That's a long-standing Mazda complaint. You do everything so well. Why not backup cameras? Isn't that kind of basic at this point? I mean, the backup camera is kind of low resolution, does not have active trajectory or
parking
anything.
Sensors.
Yeah, we don't have parking sensors on this trim either. So all three of those things kind of added together makes it on the spectrum of cameras, definitely on the basic, cheap end of that.
Yeah, it is. It's just weird. It really is just weird. And it's not on any of their cars. It doesn't matter what it is. CX-9, I mean, literally like that. Well, now they added the 360 camera, so maybe it'll start falling down, but up until very recently, it wasn't on anything.
Yeah, definitely corners very flatly and stuff. Seats could hug me a little tighter, but you know, this is a midsize sedan that is walking that tight rope between luxury and sport.
So how does the power feel in terms of comparing it to the other two cars that you drove in? I know the Maxima was more powerful, but have we even been able to really...
Not really yet.
Yeah, it doesn't seem
Let's see
like
if we
it.
can find us a road. I was trying to find a little bit more corners there. Didn't really find too many. I could go on more of a quest. We don't have a great deal of gas right now, so trying to save money to actually buy a car, not put gas in cars that I don't own. So, hee. All right, we'll give it a go. Here will be a good spot.
Wow.
Hey, that's really impressive. It's really good power.
Wow.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for grin factor. You know, something to give me a little, you know, something, some joy in everyday living. That's really good power. Really happy about that. Now the torque steer, there is some. You might not want to. Might be a little bit of an issue going around corners if I was trying to really hammer it down around corners. Pointed straight though, it's nothing like, it's not huge. I could feel a little, just a little slight tug, nothing that required me to really put any effort into the steering wheel other than to just keep it straight. So it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's just, it is a little bit is there. So something to keep in mind. I'm begging you, Mazda, please give us all-wheel drive in this car. This thing would be a beast with all-wheel drive, so they could always, in every condition, every circumstance, put the power down.
Yeah. It's just too much torque to just go to the front wheels almost. Like 310 pound-feet, that is serious torque number.
And the CX-5 has all-wheel drive too. I drove that, and that puts the power down better than this car. And that's a very athletic feeling crossover, but of course I'm not interested in a crossover. slightly concerned about the 6-speed automatic being a little slow. I mean, it might be a little slow, but then, like, in this class, I don't know, you kind of... A lot of things you're looking at, I guess, are a CVT.
Grateful it's not a CVT.
So, I'm not, I just don't think CVTs, even when they're really good, it still just kind of sucks a little bit of the joy out of it. Kind of like the Maxima. They did a really good job in that car, for the most part, of making this really super responsive CVT, but then it just still feels like weird.
It's just not there, you know.
It just makes it kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I know things. We got some recommendations for the upcoming Subaru Legacy with the turbo. And that's cool and all, but it will have a CVT. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Of course, it also has all-wheel drive, which I wish this car had.
Maybe Mazda will listen to us. I know
I
we're not
hope
the
so.
only ones
No.
saying that.
So we'll see. Maybe we'll get all-wheel drive in this car, or maybe we'll get the turbo engine in the Mazda 3. Either way, the combination, if it happens, is going to be killer. So most people probably don't use the paddles, but I actually am planning on using the paddles, so I'm going to do my own shifting.
Sport mode.
Oh yes, there is a sport mode. I'm not sure exactly what that changes. It's probably not a great deal.
Not in this class, probably not.
Pretty good control. There's a small bit of delay, nothing major. I've definitely experienced worse.
So, what about the sound? I haven't made up my mind about how I feel about how this car sounds. It's super quick.
Turbo 4s, they kind of... This is the way they tend to sound. It's 2.5 liters. I'm going to be honest, I actually kind of hear a little bit of, at least at low speeds, a little bit of similarities to the Camry that I have now. They both have 2.5.
I was about to say that.
They're both 2.5 liter engines, and
Yeah.
it kind of...
It
kind of sounds like it. It's got a 6-speed automatic too, so it kind of shifts at the same times that when you're in the normal mode. Its shift logic is similar to my Camry.
I was just about to say that. It does sound a little bit, yeah.
I'm trying to think back to the Stinger. I think
think
the Stinger with its
sounds
turbo
better.
4 was a little quieter. Probably a little bit more refined.
Yeah, the Stinger kind of sounded like a German luxury 2-liter, which is a good thing. This, not so much. I don't know. And of course, the Maxima sounds better than both of them, but it has its own cons.
Right, because you might have a good engine sound, but then you also introduce a little bit of drone. Yeah, this car is pretty fun. I like that without even shifting a gear or anything, your torque kind of makes up for the 6-speed automatic.
Yeah.
In the sense that you can just even at speed, just put your foot more into it, and you can feel that surge of power despite never switching a gear or anything.
Well, what did you think?
Very impressed. Like I said, I've driven this at other times, but not very extensively. That was definitely a lot more extensive, and digging into it, I'm just as impressed as I was on the surface. This is a car it feels like a great combination between the sport and the luxury side of things, as you know, with the criteria that I have discussed previously. I want something sporty, but I don't want something that I have to compromise a lot for the sport. I am used to having a Camry. Camry, for all of its strongest strength to me, is how comfortable it is. So having this is just as comfortable, I think. I've got the same type of space. I have all the luxury things that I'm certainly not used to in a 2010 LE Camry. And then the sport, Mazda just really nails it. The turbo engine is like an A+ for me. It's great. Lots and lots of torque, plenty of power. And then, of course, my favorite part about any Mazda is just the steering. They just do a great job. It's often really neglected. Mazda has one of the best steering setups in the business, regardless if we're talking luxury or non-luxury. There's definitely plenty of luxury cars that could learn a thing or two from Mazda. So all in all, certainly this is heavily on my list of things to consider.